Jesus sent the demons into the pigs. The pigs went off the cliff, remember? And I told you that that was the first mention of deviled ham in the Bible. We could go on and on. But I think the greatest example of beholding his glory is on Mount Transfiguration. Write it down. Matthew 17. Peter, James, and John and Jesus are on the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus' glory and deity began to shine forth through his humanity. His face began to shine like the sun. His clothes became radiant white. Then Moses and Elijah showed up, and a glory cloud descended on the mountain, and a voice was heard from the cloud. Matthew 17, this is my beloved son, listen to him. And then Peter said, this is the coolest thing ever. Let's stay here and build 3 tabernacles, one for Moses, one for Elijah, and one for Jesus. And on this mountain, John beheld the glory of Jesus in a very real sense. His glory is shown not only in what he did, but also who he is. Verse 14, look at it again. The glory was full of what? Grace and truth. It means the glory of God that is revealed in Jesus doesn't consume us in our sin. Anybody happy about that? Clap your hands and say amen. Will you do that? Man, he doesn't consume us in our sin. It's a glory that's full of grace and truth. Now, don't miss this word full. It has the idea of very, very great. His grace and his truth is very, very great. It's overflowing grace. This is really, really good news for us sinners because the Word of God, Jesus, became flesh to be gracious to us. And his graciousness comes to us in harmony and unity and solidarity with his truthfulness. This is not wishy-washy, unprincipled, sentimental grace. This is righteous God exalting costly grace that leads to the cross. As a matter of fact, this is the reason he became flesh. He became flesh to die a shameful, painful death for you and for me. Think about it. He had to have flesh and be human in order to die as a God-man in our place. The Word became flesh so that the death of Jesus will be possible. The cross is where the fullness of grace and truth shines most bright. Don't we sing about it? He became sin, who knew no sin, that we might become his righteousness. He humbled himself and carried the cross. Love so amazing. Love so amazing. Jesus Messiah, name above all names. Jesus Messiah. We sing about it. He became sin, are you listening? Who knew no sin, that we might become his righteousness. Nothing new. 2 Corinthians 5:21. For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. Somebody once put it this way: a sinless Jesus became sin-filled so that sin-filled people could be sin-free. As you study, I'll wait while you clap your hands. Am I right about it? As you study the gospel, you see grace and truth in that order. What do you mean, Pastor?